Welcome to WorkSpan TV. I'm Rose Stanley with WorldatWork. Joining me today is Teresa Hopke from Life Meets Work, and today we're going to be talking about flexibility. Welcome, Teresa.
Hi, Rose.
Teresa, let's talk about what some of your learnings were as a practitioner that you can share with our audience regarding implementing flexibility programs and some of the obstacles that you may have come across.
Having been in the practitioner role for 10 years, there are a lot of things that we learned along the way. A lot of things that went really well, and a lot of things that would have done differently looking back. And also, in talking with other organizations out there, I think there are some common themes that really make for a good implementation of flexibility. And the number one thing that I would say is senior leadership support. I can't emphasize enough the importance of making sure you take the time to get your senior leaders on the same page and on board with supporting flexibility before you go through the work of rolling it out. And I think that sometimes organizations get impatient and want to move forward without really making sure that the leaders aren't just saying that they're supportive, but are truly committed and behind that. One of the things that we did at my former organization is the leaders actually got together and signed a declaration of flexibility and agreed to what their commitment around flexibility would be and what the employees would get in exchange for it, and then what they expected from employees. And then they all signed it and presented it to employees. So it was a way for them to unify and make sure that they were all on the same page around it.
How did you get them to even get to that point of signing that declaration?
We laid the foundation for that up front, which is another one of the learnings, which is that we took a business-based approach to flexibility and got the leaders to understand it from that lens, so they then in turn took that business-based approach with the declaration of flexibility. I think organizations that approach the flexible work environment rollout and don't use a business-based approach don't get their managers to buy in because they're not looking at it as a business strategy. They're not looking at it as a way to impact the business and the strategy of the business.
Was there any obstacle? Did you run into anything that you could say, okay, audience, this is what you may want to learn from and do it a little differently?
We did a very comprehensive rollout of our flexible work environment. We trained all of our managers and all of our employees, and it was a really big effort, and it spanned a couple of years. And when we were done, we probably didn't do as good a job as we needed to, making sure that we were continuing that commitment to ongoing maintenance. Flexibility isn't one of those things you can check off the list and then have it be done. It's an ongoing commitment that requires follow-up training and resources and tools for both employees and managers, and then that ongoing leadership commitment. In the time since we rolled it out initially, our leadership has changed, and so one of the things I think we probably could have done a better job on is making sure that our leaders, our new leaders, were all on the same page again and recommitting on an annual basis, and I would recommend that for any organization.
I think I've heard other people say that in some of the total rewards programs, it's a finite program that you start and then you can let it go. But with things like flexibility, it's more than just programs and initiatives. It's really also talking about changing a culture, which I'm sure has to have an ongoing work towards that. Is that what you guys worked on?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's all about culture change, and if an organization doesn't approach it as a culture change initiative, I think that it is something that has the potential to fail because it's not something you can check off the list and just be done with. Employees need tools and resources, managers need tools and resources, and there has to be a culture that supports it. It has to be something that becomes kind of the fabric of your organization, not just a program that's in place. One of the ways that we did that was to actually implement it in a broader way than just a flexible work environment rollout. So we built flexibility into our performance management process. We had employees write a work-life goal every year in addition to their business goals, because what our employees told us is the best way for you to give us permission to talk about this and for flexibility to be okay is to make it something that we can easily have a conversation with our managers about, and the performance management process is the best way to do that. So we help hold our employees accountable for their flexible work goals through our performance management process.
And did the managers themselves also also have this in their performance goals?
Yes, the managers had it in their performance goals as well. And most recently, we've now built it into the accountability for the highest levels of our organization. So the leaders have this on their leadership scorecard as something that they need to support. There are different levels of it that impact your performance rating. And so it's one thing to just support it, but it's another thing to be a role model.
I also know, Teresa, that you had been a work-life practitioner at your former organization, but then you were promoted up into a higher level that broadly covered talent management and talent strategy. So can you tell me then how you melded in the work-life aspect and how it fits into the whole talent management strategy?
We made a very intentional decision at my former company to not only have work-life be a specific subdivision of talent management, but to make it part of the broader talent management strategy and to really think about it as a more holistic, systemic way of approaching work. Work-life became part of, like I said, our performance management process, but it also became part of our manager training. So rather than having just standalone work-life training, we took advantage of training that our career advisors have every year and made sure that work-life was a component of that and that they understood that it was part of their role to support work-life effectiveness of our employees as a part of that. We also tried to embed it in our career development projects, so looking at the long-term career span of somebody and how they get there and how does work-life play into that and make that a component of it. So we tried to really think broadly and holistically. At the same time, also think about tools and resources that we could give people that would help with the work-life and flexibility issues that they were having. We have a Coach on Call program that links our employees to a resource that can help with any flexibility issue that they're having, and that links then to our career advisor training and our career development stuff as well. So it's kind of all one big system for us, and that's the way we'd like our employees to think about it too.
Any last thoughts that you would like to give our audience today regarding flexibility?
Measurement can't be valued enough. Showing what the impact of the work that you've done has had on your organization is the key to being able to move forward and get further resources to do more within your organization. You can get so wrapped up being a practitioner in the day-to-day rollout that remembering to measure and show the value for what you're doing can become kind of an afterthought. Make sure that you're setting up measurement systems from the beginning and continually measuring on an ongoing basis so that we can continue to show how valuable these programs are. We know that they impact engagement, we know they impact retention and productivity, and so just making sure that you're showing that value so that your senior leaders are seeing that for their specific organization.
Teresa, thank you for joining us today and sharing your expertise.
Thank you, Rose.
For World at Work, I'm Rose Stanley.